So the next step for our users is now to make sure that we can use our login. So this code right here, because we can create a new user, now we want to make sure that once we stored our credentials in a database, we can also log in. One important note though before we start, the password validation is still going to be some dummy code, because at the moment we don't have any token which is sent with the password, so we cannot really validate our data. Therefore, at the moment, we only have a dummy code, so to say, which will simply check whether a user is existing and or if the password he enters is correct. So it's not a real login, we just implement this basic functionality. Just keep that in mind. However, as I said, we have to work on the login here, and the core logic is not that different from the one we saw for our sign up. So to get started, we'll again delete this code right here. And now what I want to do is I first want to start with our custom email validator that we already implemented up here for the sign up logic. So this code right here, we can basically copy paste it because I again want to make sure that the email address of the user is valid. For that, let's go down and let's paste this code right here. Maybe add a space here. One difference though, here not signing up would fail, but logging in would fail, but the general logic is the same. So that's step one, we validated our email. Now let's continue with the actual check whether the user email or the password is correct. This is what I was referring to at the beginning of this video. It's not a real finished validation though, it's just a dummy validation in the end to make sure the email and or the password is stored in a database in case either mail or password is wrong, the user cannot log in. I actually already said what we have to write in the code now. If here and if what? Well, if our existing user, is not stored in the database, or if the existing user password, so we can access the password property here, is not equal to the password that was entered. Well, if one of these is the case, then we again have an error with our HTTP error. And this time we can state invalid credentials could not log you in. Error code here would be 401. And we have to add return next. Again, also nothing new to us. And with that, we are actually done already. We can now validate the email and we can check whether the email and the password are correct. Well, if both is the case, then we should be able to log in now. So let's save this. And I get an error. And why do I get the error? Well, because here find one is an asynchronous task. Therefore, we should make sure to add async also right here. So make sure not to forget this. If I now save, this should work. So let's go back to Postman. And here I'm not in sign in now, but in the login route. And we now only have to add two things, email and password, as we showed it right here. So let's delete this one. And now what is our email? Well, for that, we can go to our database. Here in the users collection, we have the email test@test.com. Let me simply copy paste this one right here. And the corresponding password is here, testers. So if we do this and hit send, we get back logged in. So this seems to work. If I now enter testers1 as a password, I get invalid credentials, so this seems to work. And if I enter test1@test.com, this also doesn't work. Once again, with test@test.com, we get the successful login. So with that, we can now log in. One thing is missing though, and this is up here, our get users constant. We have to work on that as a next step.